Right, a little while ago I posted a picture on this channel and around Facebook showing my setup at a ceremony at the back of an aisle, a 2-camera setup at the back. I had my feet up, etc., just to show off how I was shooting that ceremony. And it generated a few questions about how I was doing it and why I was doing it and why I would leave a monopod unattended. It wasn't unattended, my feet were in the picture. And I've seen this discussion pop up quite a bit, so I'm going to go over it in this video, exactly how I film an entire ceremony with 2 cameras all from the back. So the setup obviously depends on the church or the venue that you're in, the location of the ceremony. If you're in a location where you can set up a camera down the middle, at the back, down the middle of the aisle, without having to worry about the bride making her entrance and it being in her way. Sometimes the bride will walk through the back doors of a church straight down the aisle and your camera would be right in the way. But if you're in the right kind of church or the right kind of setup where she's kind of coming in from the side and down the middle and you've got space previous to the ceremony starting, you've got space to set up a camera and leave it down the middle and it's not going to be in the way. Then I would set up my wide angle shot, my B cam on a tripod prior to the whole ceremony, about 10 minutes before, get it set up, frame it up, get focus at the front where the groom's going to be stood, hit record, etc. This is my B cam, so this is an A7S II. It's got a 24mm prime lens on it always, and I have it at f5.6 aperture so that I've got more in focus. Auto white balance, auto ISO, I might stop it up or down depending on exposure, but pretty much auto settings just because it's going to be static and unmanned and I can just leave it down the middle. If the bride is going to be walking straight through and your camera would be in the way, obviously you can't put it there, so I always set mine off to the side a little bit. I'll do the same sort of shot, but I'll do it off center to the side so that I'm not in the bride's way as she's walking down. Now this isn't an ideal composition by any means, but needs must. It does the job it needs to. It's not going to be in the way. And this is the first beauty of staying and filming everything from the back, because what you can do once the bride's entered and she's got to the front, you can then get your camera, which was off center, and move it into you're at the back and you're on hand to be able to move that camera into the center. So you can go from an off-center shot, you can move it into the middle, reframe it. It's got a nice, clean, central composition for the rest of the ceremony. You want to be making this move once the bride's entered and the guests are all asked to be seated and there's a bit of hustle and bustle for a couple of minutes, or maybe they start in a hymn. You want to get it at an in-betweeny moment. You can't be moving your camera during an important moment. So get it on an in-betweeny moment, put it in the middle, get it set up nice and central, and then you can, if it's done during a bit of a null moment or during a hymn or something, you can cut it out easily in post and no one will, you've not missed any important parts of the ceremony. And if I was filming everything from the front, sometimes if you're in a small church you can get trapped and you can get stuck behind the altar. In that case I'd be stuck with that off-center B-cam shot for the entire ceremony and it's just not as nice. So that's one benefit to being at the back. Meanwhile, I've got my other camera, my main camera, the A-cam, on a monopod with me on a 55mm lens, f1.8, and I'll be operating that on the monopod. Again, what I do with this depends on location. Ideally, you'd have total freedom to move about freely during the ceremony. I can go to the front when the bride's about to enter and film her entrance, and then once I've done that, I can move around to the back, I can readjust my B-cam to the middle, and then I've got freedom. If I can move full circle for the duration of the ceremony, I can move around and get the vows, I can move around and get the readings, I can pick up everything. You do get this sometimes when you're at a civil ceremony at a venue. Happy days, it's like that's the ideal scenario. But for those times when this isn't the case, if you're in a church with limited space or you're in a small church and you can't get down the aisles, for example, then I'd rather film everything from the back and stay at the back than get trapped behind the altar with no decent angle on the readings, for example. You're just stuck behind the altar or a big pillar. We've all been there. So for me, the pros of filming at the back outweigh the pros of filming at the front. At the front, you get a nice angle of them giving their vows and their reactions to everything, for sure. But everything else throughout the rest of the ceremony just looks better from the back. The readings, whoever's doing a reading, you can see them face on the vicar or the priest doing their bit. You can See that? You get the hymns. It's just a nice, clean, central composition. If you are going to commit to doing this, the only little tricks to be aware of are the moment where the bride is coming down the aisle and she's making her entrance. You can either go to the front behind the groom and film her making her entrance. But if you're going to do that, you've got to make sure that you've predefined a path to get past them once she has entered and she's got to the front. So the bride walks in, she makes her entrance, she's stood at the front. You need to make sure you've got a clean path to get past the bride and groom, and you can film her entrance, and then once she's in, you can move past the bride and groom, get round them and leg it to the back and sort out your B cam and etc. So you need to make sure that you've predefined and figured out your space and made yourself a little path to get past if you're going to do it from the front, so that you can go to the front, film the entrance and then move to the back. Or you could just commit to being at the back and film her entrance from the back. And in this case, you want to focus on the groom's reaction to the bride entering as he turns around and sees her for the first time, which can often be a nicer moment anyway. The other thing, if you're going to commit to filming from the back, is to make doubly sure that when they do the vows, the exchange of vows or the exchange of the rings, that they turn fully side on to face each other. In most ceremonies that I've been to, or most weddings that I've been to, and I'd imagine all around the world, when they have the wedding rehearsal, they are told that they should turn and face each other for their vows anyway. But you just want to be making doubly sure, because if you're going to film it from the back down the middle, you want a nice shot of them side on giving their rings to each other so that you can see it, and you're not just filming backs of heads, because that ruins the shot. So all you got to do is just a case of grabbing the groom 5 minutes before the ceremony's about to start, maybe when you're miking him up, and just say, when you come to do your vows, you make sure that you do fully turn side on. Like just pre-warn him, say you are going to turn side on when you, and he's done his wedding rehearsal, so he'll know what you mean. But just make it clear to him. Make sure that you fully, you turn fully 90 degrees and you side on to each other, because I've got a camera at the back, and you can kind of explain it to him. If you go to the back to film the vows and they don't turn around properly and you've got backs of heads, so you need to make sure that they do. Other than that, the whole ceremony becomes really simple. You've got both cameras, the 24mm wide on a little tripod, you've got the 55mm, or I'll sometimes crop that into an 85 just above it. So I've got my two cameras, one on top of the other, one on top of each other, down the middle, at the back, and I'm just stood or sat in a pew next to them, just keeping an eye on them. I can be on hand if anything needs to change. I'm there, I can be on hand. I've got movement around the back of the ceremony, and that's what you saw when I posted it a few weeks ago. And it's more discreet for the couple. If you sell yourself as a discreet or a minimal filmmaker, the last thing that they want to see, this is the most nervous part of the wedding day for them. They don't want to see me stood in front of them with a camera and the photographer stood in front of them. It's going to be less nerve-wracking if I'm at the back. And I say that to them. I'm like, guys, you've got enough to worry about when you're doing your vows. You don't need to stare at my ugly mug. I'm going to film from the back. And it's easier when editing the full ceremony video. So I do a multicam of the whole ceremony, and you can just cut from wide to tight at various points throughout the ceremony edit. And you're safe in the knowledge that both angles, both cameras are static and consistent throughout. So there you have it. That's my method for this setup and my reasoning for doing so. If you're a discreet or a minimal filmmaker, this will make your ceremony filming so much easier and cleaner. It's just an all-round win, so I hope this video will be of use. Please like it if you liked it, and share it with anyone that you feel might benefit from seeing it. And I'll see you in the next video, which is a live stream Q&A this Wednesday evening coming up. So make sure you're tuning in, and I look forward to chatting to you then.